then we can talk about a sonic screwdriver.
Yeah, what I like is that, I mean, that's like, what feel the weight of that, that's, you know, so that's like, it's a prop,
it's
yeah.
Not 3D
it's
printed,
it's a prop, exactly right. So in the years we've been doing it, you know, the little industries have got up around it. People now make these, you know, fans can buy them, which is just another good little off-spin of...
You get all the ones that light up and make
Exactly right,
as well.
yeah. Some model makers, so everyone's getting work, you know. I like it.
Great. Like,
and I like it because it's like it's heavy. It'll take the stress of doing these.
It's a good prop.
Of doing these days, you know. It's a good prop.
Is that your little stress?
You need a prop.
Stress
We all
thing?
need a prop.
Do you just hold it when you're feeling stressed out? Is it like a comfort thing?
It's a comfort thing, yeah. Something to, well, actors, yeah. Something to do with my hands. Give me something to do with my hands. You know, let me hold something. Give me a sword.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
love it.
So I can smudge your aura while I'm looking at you.
I need my aura smudging.
Yeah.
Right, so I'm here with Paul McGann.
As if you couldn't tell.
As if you couldn't tell. I would say introduce yourself and tell us a bit about your work. But
I'm Paul
everyone
McGann.
Knows you.
And I once played Doctor Number 8
It was
in
once
Doctor Who.
Number 8.
And now what are they up to? Maybe 15?
I was
What's
going
the
to say
present
12,
Doctor?
but
Is
it's
it 15?
definitely 15 Doctors now, right?
Shoot, is it 15? Yeah. So I'm sort of, so I
number
belong
8
in the,
many.
what do they call it? We're in the classic era. We're like the old fellas who were in the, we're the classic Who's.
Yeah, you're just in the middle. What year was it?
I was first involved in 1996.
1996.
Yeah, and weirdly it was when, because you know, when I was a kid, Doctor Who was on. It started in '63. It went right through all the '60s and '70s, right up to the end of the '80s. Then the BBC booted it into the long grass. They got rid of it, infamously.
Yeah.
And there was like a 4 or 5 year gap. And you know, while there was still like some novelizations and comics and animation and other stuff, it had gone. Sylvester McCoy was the last one. So it sort of had its time. And then there was rumours around 94, 95 that it was going to come back. And it did. And it was me. They asked me to do it. But the weird thing was it went to North America.
Oh yeah, it got more American, didn't it?
It was gonna, like the idea was to get a series off the ground in the United States. Because someone was, the producer, Siegel, was convinced that there'd be an audience for it in America.
And there was.
Not enough of a one
Not
at the
enough,
time, no. We shot this pilot, you know, a pilot's for when you make a pilot in the hope that you go to a series. But it didn't work. We shot the pilot, which is now they call it the movie now.
Did they make it more American then? Did they try and add more American humour?
Well, exactly,
or different humour?
Yeah, in order to get to try and find this American audience. So, and yeah, that's a good question because weirdly, it was kind of it was Americanized, obviously.
Yeah.
And they spent money on it. They shot it on 35mm. It was posh looking, you know, and action sequences and everything. It wasn't like the thing that we'd been used to in Britain, because they wanted an American audience for it. And there was little me in the middle of it trying to get by. Anyway, being America, you know, the way it is, and when the ratings came out, there weren't quite enough people. Something else must have got more ratings, so they made that instead.
Come out at the same time.
It's quite brutal.
Probably Star Trek.
So after that, like I say, after being off the telly for 5 years, suddenly it was off the telly again for 10 more years before they eventually brought it back in 2005 with Chris Eccleston in it. So now that gap is now what the fans call the wilderness years.
The wilderness.
I love it. You know, Winston Churchill, the wilderness years. So that's where I come from. You know, my 8th Doctor's like in the middle of all of that strange period.
And now it's American time.
Yeah, the American time. But eventually they found the American audience. Nowadays, if you talk about Doctor Who, it's fair to say that most of the fan base is in the United States.
There are a lot of America. It was like so big in America. I just
now it is, yeah.
It had always been big there. But when did it get big in America? What caused it to get big in America? Is it your doing?
Well, we contributed to that, yeah. Russell T Davies, who now runs it, again, you know, said that really without that thing that we did back in '96, it may not have ever come back. So although the pilot failed its only function, which is to go to series, eventually it did come back, and
it happens like that.
And look, we're all still here. We're all still.
A series will come out and then they'll cancel it, and then 5 years later it's got like this mass following because it's all of a sudden just.
That's right. That's how it works.
So I just don't.
Some
think
things just take time. They take time to find its audience. I've been in other things in my working life.
You've been in other things, have you?
No, but I mean, I have. Yeah. Would you believe it? I've actually been in other things. But one of them, the movie with Nell and I, that didn't find an audience for years. People thought it had just gone. What do they call them in showbiz? They call them sleepers.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes a film or a telly thing 5, 10, 15 years to find its audience. So it starts off slow and then,
I think now with like streaming services as well, like they'll put something on
different.
And then it's getting new audiences to it, and they'll binge watch it and they'll be like, oh my god, this is amazing. I want more.
And for us, people that are in these things, sometimes you can be in something and it doesn't quite work at the beginning. But we console ourselves with the idea that, whatever, maybe 10 years from now, people will find it.
Classic,
but it can happen.
It can happen.
I'm here to tell you.
Are you big in America then? Do you do American Comic-Cons and events?
Occasionally, I don't do many. I did one recently and I realised it had been 4 or 5 years, since I'd done one before.
So this is a rare occasion?
Yeah, but I don't do a lot of these, and the ones I do I really enjoy.
They are fun.
And I like today's a good one because you can hear yourself speak. It's friendly. It's like some of the American shows are so busy.
I like to say this is a bit more intimate. Like you
It
can
is.
actually
Well, yeah.
talk to people.
It's right, which is I like. I don't want to come to these. I don't want to. I hate the kind of sausage machine vibe of some of the American shows where you
Come
can't.
here, sign a picture.
No,
Off
no,
you
no.
go.
I'm not interested in that.
That's why
I'd rather talk to the fans. That's what the point. That's the whole point of it.
Yeah,
we're all fans, really.
We are.
And I like talking to the cosplayers, and because to me that's the spirit of it.
Yeah.
You come here and later on today they'll have their competition, won't they?
You'll see a lot of Doctor Who people walking through here, I reckon, today, coming to see
Love
you.
that. Love to people dressing up and that. Again, that's the whole vibe of it.
Was you a Doctor Who fan before you was in Doctor Who?
I wouldn't say a fan, except when we were kids in the 1960s, that's when it was first on. So, but in those days, there were only 3 telly channels.
Yeah, there was.
Well, that's it, and everybody watched everything together.
Yeah.
Like you watch it, your families would watch telly, and everybody saw everything. Whatever was on, you watched it. So even though you might not be a fan, you saw it anyway. I can remember going into school. I think Doctor Who might have been on a Thursday in those days. Then I'm going into school on a Friday morning. Or the kids are reenacting scenes from this thing that was on last night and they're playing. I can remember that.
Yeah.
So although I wouldn't say I was you know what? I
knew of it.
I didn't even like sci-fi.
Did you not?
No, it kind of went over my head a little bit.
I think it did for a lot of people.
My older brother was really into sci-fi. He read books, and I remember he always trying to get me into it. And I'm going, nah, it's not my thing. Later, it became my thing, and it was really only by doing Doctor Who, I think, getting involved in it years later, and coming to these shows and talking to people who were mad about it, that I sort of get it. Now I get it.
Speaking of people that are mad about Doctor Who, my cameraman Alex is dying to come in the seat for a rare occasion. So I'm going to hand you over to Alex, who's a very big Doctor Who fan.
Come on.
Hello, it's wonderful to meet you.
Right, he's come round.
I've come round. I've got my question prepped.
Have you?
So,
is it a tough one?
It might be. So, famously, different doctors have had a previous doctor they got the inspiration from. For example, Matt Smith was Patrick Troughton, and I think Eccleston said it was Hartnell. Do you have one that you sort of had, this is my idea of the Doctor, like Tom Baker, for example?
I think because McCoy, when I went out to do that thing in Canada, McCoy was with us, and we did the regeneration, but McCoy was an old mate. I knew McCoy anyway, so I'd say, but McCoy's a bit of a one-off as well, so I thought, well, shall I try and do a McCoy impression? Or that ain't going to work.
He was probably one of the most mysterious doctors, I would say.
But I've got to say again, talking about when I was a kid, it was Hartnell, it was the first one.
Yeah.
He was our doctor, he was my doctor. And I remember thinking as a kid, because he looked about 100 years old. And I've read about it, he was only in his 50s.
Yeah, I know, it's incredible.
But he had like a long
Yeah.
way, but when you're a child, like, you know, he seemed like something like a Victorian figure. And what I really liked about him, and had we made a series, I would have tried to, I think, probably do more of that, was the kind of restraint of him. He didn't, all the kind of, like later on you had Troughton and then
John Pertwee.
Pertwee particularly, Baker, a lot of sort of eccentricity, and it was really front foot, and they were great comedians and everything. Whereas when you think back to Hartnell, he just was
Very serious.
No, well, not just serious. Well, he wasn't, because he had a twinkle, I think. And you know, now I've seen he's been in loads of films in the 40s and 50s, and he was kind of the same. He's one of those actors that, again, that word restraint. He was good enough just to keep still and allow things to, which is more like I like to do. There's the answer.
Oh, yeah.
So it would probably have been more of him.
Oh, awesome.
With the odd touch of McCoy. That's a combination, isn't it?
That's very good. I like that.
Like I say, I like the restraint.
Is it true, if I'm remembering rightly, you had the idea of having the same costume as Eccleston as well? Like a leather jacket as well?
Well, Eccleston didn't exist until that point, did it?
No, I meant...
Yeah.
No, I meant...
Well, I did. I
Colin
said,
Baker said famously a leather jacket, and I think...
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, Colin told me that.
Yeah.
Because Colin sort of got a little bit of a say back in the day into what he was going to wear, or at least he contested.
Yeah.
What, you know, Colin, like rightly, even to this day, says, well, why do we even call it a costume? You know, why should the doctor wear a costume? He just wears clothes, you know. Everyone else wears clothes. Why doesn't he change his clothes every day? Now, Shooty does that.
Yeah,
Shooty wears different, you know, and because Colin's got a point.
He does, yeah, really.
You know, and I think a good point, in fact, and we'd probably have liked to change costume, you know, depending on each story. So Shooty's got the right idea.
Yeah, it only happened in one.
No, when I arrived in Canada to shoot the thing, I thought, well, I looked at this costume and thought, oh, really? Have I got to spend months in that?
Right, yeah.
I felt, you can't even run in it, really. You know, are we going to shoot action sequences in this gear? You know what I mean? So well, give me something I can work in. Just give me a jacket. My hair was really short. You don't need to give it, you know, but they wanted to put a wig on my head.
Oh, I see, yeah.
So I felt all a bit restricted.
I see.
Yeah.
But, thank you so much.
But I had to do as I was told. I think really because when we made that pilot, and he was right, the producer, he said, look, we need to include really iconic things in this, just to tell these Americans what it's all about.
Oh, I see, yeah.
You see what I mean? So he was right.
And you had the first ever kiss for a doctor, I think, if I remember rightly. That's the first time you ever see the doctor kiss someone. Was in your...
Was it a kiss though?
Yeah, that's
Or was
true.
it just a peck on the cheek? Well, I think it was a chaste kiss, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
It wasn't
it?
a snog, not like certain others.
No, not like David Tennant.
That's right. That was a snog. That was a snog on the rocks, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
You know what I mean?
So I've got to wrap it up. But thank you so much. I'm a
pleasure.
massive fan. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
I'm going to smudge your oar now. I've told you about.
Thank you so much.
Indeed, yeah.
But yes, Paul McGann, everyone.
Thank you very much.